Alrighty, welcome back everyone. We just talked about some of the different things going on with the playoff and the TV schedule with it. It's definitely going to be a very, very interesting month of football and a lot of overlapping things, whether it's college football playoff or bowl games or NFL. There's going to be plenty of football to watch around that time of year, and don't gotta ask me twice. But it's going to be incredible to watch. But let's get into recruiting. There's so much stuff going on around recruiting. We talked about how June is a huge month, one of the biggest months in high school recruiting, and definitely a lot of stuff has already happened in the month of June before as it started. But let's jump into this and let's get into the team that absolutely dominated this last weekend and really throughout this entire week, which is the Georgia Bulldogs. And it starts with Zayden Walker, the number one linebacker in the country. He has committed to Georgia, an absolutely huge pickup for the Bulldogs. Definitely someone that can kind of fill a big-time void that is going to be left by Smile Mondon when he leaves after this upcoming year. But this kid's going to be ready to go. He's absolutely incredible. Definitely someone that is going to be a huge help to the Bulldogs, and they just rake in linebackers year after year, whether it's Justin Williams a year ago or CJ Allen 2 years before that. It's just incredible what they've been able to do at the linebacker position, and that's not stopping anytime soon. Let's just put it that way. And then two other guys that we talked about last week were Isaiah Gibson and Justice Terry, two guys that are committed to USC. Justice Terry was committed to UGA. Well, it sounds like that guy right there, Isaiah Gibson, might be flipping to UGA. Steve Wiltfong put in a flip for him to go from USC to UGA. Would be an absolutely huge steal for UGA, and they're definitely kicking the rocks on Justice Terry as well. Definitely someone that they would like to get back on board. I've heard some murmurs about him possibly flipping back, but not really sure what's going to happen there. Definitely less than I've heard around Isaiah Gibson, but let's move on to some other teams around the country and some big-time commitments. And frankly, it all starts with Keelon Russell, an absolutely huge flip, the number 7 quarterback in the entire country, flip from SMU to Alabama, and a huge get for Kalen DeBoer and company. I think Keelon Russell is absolutely special. He's one of my favorite recruits in the entire country. I think he can do things on a football field that not a lot of people on planet Earth can do. There's so much things to like about this kid. Definitely one of those guys that can kind of usher Bama into this new era. I think, Jalen Milroe is going to do a fantastic job, but when you're only there for 1 year with a new head coach, it's hard to be the quarterback that ushers you into the new era. And I think Keelon Russell is going to walk right in and be probably competing for a starting job pretty much right away. I think he's really that incredible, and I've seen some people online trying to, clown Alabama for saying he's coming from SMU, he can't be that good. He is that good. I can promise you he's that good. So I would be a little bit worried if I were an LSU fan or if I was a Georgia fan or whatever it is. This guy's going to be a problem at the next level. I can almost promise you that. And then another big-time commitment was Bo Jackson. Yes, Bo Jackson. I actually mean that. Not the Bo Jackson, of course, but the number 4 athlete in the country. He is committed to Ohio State. Will play running back at the next level, most likely. And a huge time win for Carlos Loughlin, the new running back coach over there at Ohio State. When you're taking over for someone like Tony Alford, who found his way over to Michigan, you got to get big-time wins on the recruiting trail. And he has done that a ton at Oregon, but now at Ohio State, he's just picking up where he left off. An absolutely huge pickup for them. Definitely someone that just adds to that number 1 class that they already have. So the Buckeyes are doing what they always do in recruiting, which is just absolutely dominating. But let's get into some other intel from around the country. Andrew Babalola is definitely someone that you definitely want to know. A 5-star offensive lineman. It sounds like he might just be heading over to Stanford. An absolutely huge pickup. The Cardinal can always recruit big boys, that's for sure. They do not struggle recruiting offensive linemen, so he's definitely someone to watch. If Stanford can pick him up, he's going to be the linchpin on that left side of that offensive line, probably for the 3 or 4 years that he's there. And then we'll go back to Georgia here for a second. They are hosting a number of big-time players and are hoping to get the same thing they got from Zayden Walker this past week. DJ Pickett is a number 2 cornerback in the entire country. He will be on campus, as well as David Sanders Jr., the number 1 tackle in the country, will be on campus. And David Sanders Jr. is someone that has been trending kind of more away from Clemson and towards Georgia over the last couple of weeks. So definitely one to watch. I don't necessarily expect a commitment there this weekend, but a lot of stuff can happen. You never really know. And then Texas is someone we've talked about a little bit. They are still leading for guys like DeCorian Moore and Jamie French, but some people are really trying to push them for that. Ohio State has made a big-time step up in Decoria Moore's recruitment after a visit from him last week. LSU and Miami are definitely going after Jamie French really, really aggressively. Jamie French actually will be in College Station this weekend for Texas A&M, so definitely a huge, huge battle for Texas, and those will absolutely go down to the wire. I have no doubt that both of those commitments will probably happen somewhere in November to December. If it does happen earlier, then I would not expect them to flip, because I think they've fully made their decision. They're probably just fully done with recruiting. So it's the same thing that Zayden Walker said when he committed to Georgia, actually. So another thing with Texas, they are hosting the number one athlete in the country, Michael Terry, this upcoming weekend. They've been kind of the leader on him, but there's been a lot of it's been pretty quiet around him the last couple of months. So don't necessarily know where his recruitment stands, but it'll be a huge week for Texas around that. We talked about Texas A&M. They also have Jonah Williams coming onto campus, the number one safety in the country, Michael Fafusi, the number 3 offensive tackle in the country. So a huge weekend for the Aggies and Mike Elko. If they can somehow get Jonah Williams to commit this weekend, it would be absolutely huge for them. And then Miami is heating up on Elijah Griffin, one of the best defensive linemen in the country. He had been kind of leaning heavily towards UGA the last little bit, but Miami's really trying to pull this one off. And if they can pull it off, it'll be a huge get for Mario Cristobal and everyone around that program, because you need linchpins on that defensive line, and Elijah Griffin would be that. Absolutely. That guy right there. So an absolute beast on the defensive side of the ball. But I also wanted to get you caught up on some portal stuff that has happened over the last couple of weeks. Chris Hardy, who is one of the top defensive linemen still in the portal, has committed to Ole Miss, an absolutely huge pickup for Lane. I think he's making it nearly impossible for this defense to not be much better than they were a year ago, and to have some of the depth that I was a little bit worried about early on with Ole Miss, but they've done a great job of backfilling some of that roster and making sure that it's not just Walter Nolan and Princely Umanmielen on the defensive line. It is some other guys that can rotate in and definitely help them out. So big time pickup there. We also had Star Thomas, a really good running back out of New Mexico State. He committed to Duke. Definitely someone that will be able to kind of help that run game with Jordan Waters finding his way to NC State. You need as many bodies as you possibly can, because Jordan Waters is really incredible. So a huge pickup for them. Star Thomas is really, really incredible, and definitely someone that a lot of people around the industry were just waiting on to commit. But a huge pickup for Duke, a huge pickup for Manny Diaz there. And then we had Colin Gill, a cornerback from Oregon. He flipped his commitment from Temple to UGA, and I don't necessarily know what happened there. It's kind of a weird one. It must have been, Kirby Smart and Will Muschamp and Charvarius Robinson, some of the other guys over there, saw something in this kid that apparently not a lot of other people did. I don't necessarily expect him to start or be a big-time player this upcoming year, but obviously, this is someone they wanted on their roster. So it'll be really interesting to see this guy's kind of journey. Is he in the portal again after next year, or is he sticking around in Athens a little bit and becoming a big-time player for them? It'll be really interesting to watch that one. We also had a very interesting saga with Simeon Barrow Jr., the Michigan State transfer that committed to Miami. It sounded like he might have been thinking about re-entering the portal and possibly going to Missouri in the latter stages of this offseason, but it looks like he's going to stay put in Coral Gables. The portal is always going to be a fight. You're never really safe from a lot of these different things that can happen, so definitely a really weird situation, but not necessarily unique in a lot of ways. So very, very interesting, but huge for Miami to keep that guy on campus. Now, there's still big-time guys out there. Jacoby Matthews is still out there. Jalen Berger, Zachary Franklin. So there's guys to be had, and I don't really know what's going on with their recruitment. I'm not sure how long those will take. Maybe they'll commit right before fall camp and just join a team and hope that they can pick things up. I know Zachary Franklin and Jacoby Matthews seem to be kind of leaning towards Washington, but it's been that way for quite some time, and a commitment has not come yet. So I'm not sure what's going on there, but it'll be fascinating to watch all of the recruiting updates, whether it's the portal or high school. There's so much stuff going on. So it's going to be really, really fun to watch, and definitely this month is going to be the defining one in this recruiting cycle, if I had to say. But That'll do it for this edition of the GSMC College Football Podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Sports Network. Your support means a lot to us, so please remember to subscribe to the show, leave a positive review. It does make a huge difference. Also, follow us on Facebook, Twitter, TikTok, Instagram, all of the social pages for all of the content and updates you could possibly need. We have incredible people doing really, really good work across every sport you could possibly want. So come on over to GSMC and we have you totally covered. But thank you once again for listening, and I will see you guys on Monday.